Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Pure Nintendo podcast. This is your weekly dose of all things Nintendo. My name is Gemma, and joining me this week, I have my two excellent friends. I have Kirk. Welcome back, Kirk.
Hey, I am directly involved today.
Directly involved, yes. And I also have Trev. Welcome back, Trev.
Yeah, glad to be back. Missed you guys.
Yeah, we missed you last week. Thank you again to Nick from Turtle Flip Studio for joining us last week. If you didn't hear that episode, check it out. It was really, really good. We have a lot to talk about. I feel like I say that every week, but I mean it. Every week there's a lot to talk about. Today especially there is a lot to talk about. We've been counting down to the Switch 2 Direct every week for the last 10 weeks. And we are so close. We're only 2 days away when this episode launches. Merely 2 days to wait, which is just, I feel like it's like Christmas almost, even though it's just a direct to tell us about the thing and when we can get the thing. It's not like we're going to get the thing, as Kirk said a few weeks ago when I was talking about, is it feeling close? And you're like, well, it's not like we're getting it. But anyway, how are you guys feeling about the Switch 2 Direct? Are we amped up? Are we excited? Do we have any last minute kind of speculations? Obviously, we've got another Direct that happened last week to talk about. We're going to talk about the interesting timing of that, as well as the games that featured. What do you guys think? How are we feeling now? Any final thoughts on Switch 2 Direct before it actually happens?
Trev, you go first. You weren't here yet last time.
Yeah.
Oh, that's how it goes, huh? Uh,
Yes.
yeah, I'm excited. It definitely feels close now,
Mhm.
as opposed to earlier in the month where it still felt a ways away.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm amped up. I don't know if you want to talk about that pre-order rumor yet or not,
You can,
but
yeah, go for it. We can bring that up. Sure.
oh, okay, yeah. Well, it's probably the last rumor because hopefully the direct will reveal all the important information. But
Mm.
there was a rumor going around that the pre-orders will begin after the direct, which really, I mean, wouldn't be that outlandish, right? I feel like that happens a lot of times with games, that are highlighted in a direct. So
Mm.
why not a system? I feel like that's the sort of thing that appeals to us as enthusiasts, but your typical Nintendo player, they're more interested in the release date. So a pre-order date isn't going to be a whole lot, but what was interesting, just thinking on that, if that is true, recent history would suggest the Switch 2 could come out earlier because
Mm.
Nintendo's pre-order windows have been smaller. So I could be wrong, but I am going to stick to my guns. I think I said fourth quarter,
Yeah,
which
you
would
did.
like October. I could even see it being late third quarter, say September. But I really think Nintendo wants to avoid issues with availability. I've often cited the original Wii, but even more recently, I mean, the Switch that sold out quickly. Even the Wii U, it didn't leg out, but that had brisk sales at the beginning. Pre-orders filled up and really made people optimistic. So I think Nintendo wants to make sure they're easy to find. And let's say pre-orders do start on April 2nd. I have a 5 to 6 month window to fit my own prediction, right? And I think they'll be able to gauge the supply they need for the early adopters. If any production needs to be ramped up, I don't know. If any parts are on like a delay or anything, sometimes certain parts can be hard to find. And the main thing I was thinking of, which I don't think I've brought up yet, but I think having a larger window, you avoid potentially scalpers ruining the process. Because we've seen how that works, right? Scalpers employ bots and they snatch up all the pre orders and
Mm.
then they try to flip them on eBay or whatever for 5 times the cost.
Yeah.
So I think having a cushion can really mitigate a lot of those concerns.
Very good points, Trev. Are you convinced, Kirk? You were thinking more like July, August, maybe September, I think, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think my window a while back, I believe, was like September, October, is what I was
Mm.
thinking.
Mhm.
I think if we look at this rumor hand in hand with the one that Nintendo has been supplying stock since January of the Switch 2, um, and it's ready to go, then if we take both those together, then I think we could get an earlier release date because they have been building up stock and they are ready to go with however many pre-orders that they get. Um, I don't know if either one of these are accurate,
Mm.
but yeah, together I think that kind of makes sense. I understand Trevor's point about the 5 month window or so. I do wonder though if people are able to pre-order and they're able to pre-order for 5 months, then that like absolutely kills any sales of the current Switch in the meantime. Because if you can buy a system and I assume you're going to go for the new one, and that's a big window of hardly any sales of Switch or Switch Lite in the meantime. Um, so I don't know that they would want to extend it that long unless, as Trevor said, there is a supply issue and they want to make sure that they're set and see how many pre-orders are coming in and ramp up production if necessary. Um, but
Mm.
it's hard to think too far beyond that because we're going to find all this out,
Yeah. Yes, we'll know.
in a couple days. So
Next week
why
we'll know.
bother to even agonize over it?
I know. Yeah, that's so true. Obviously, we'll all find out very, very soon. Yeah, it's been a fun period of time where we've had the chance to speculate and give our thoughts. I wonder if, just thinking right now, whether we had the teaser in January, we've got the direct in April. I wonder if they're spaced out, by 2 months or so, and then maybe 2 months on top of that, like maybe the direct's in the middle of a three-part series almost, if you want to call it that. Teaser, direct, release date. Maybe? I think 5 months is too long. I don't think they're gonna wanna make people wait that long. I think that's too long. Personally, that's my opinion. But hey, I could be very wrong. So
Are you still predicting May, Gemma?
I think May or June. Yeah. July at the
Mm.
latest, I reckon. But that's who knows? It's a gut feeling. I really have no evidence of that. I'm not basing it on rumors. This is what I think, but I do not know. I mean, Nintendo surprised us all last week by having. I mean, there were rumors, okay, of the Nintendo Direct last week, and they were true. The rumors were true, but that was a surprise. I think. Why would they have two directs so close to each other? Is it to mitigate the fears of, I guess, maybe shareholders, like Kirk saying, it's going to impact Switch sales? Now we've had a Nintendo Switch Direct with all of these games for the next. I mean, they mentioned 2026 games on this list, right? So it's like a long period.
They did. It
Mm.
is odd to have directs so close, but first of all, shout out to the leakers. They did predict the direct, but I saw everybody saying, "Oh, Kirby Planet Robobot HD and the Hollow Knight sequel and Zeldas," and you know,
Mm. Hmm.
it's like, yeah, you could do an educated guess and be a leaker and be
Yeah.
wrong most of the time.
Mm. Hmm.
But I think to Kirk's point about sales maybe drying up during a long pre-order window, I think that only really might apply to enthusiasts like us. Your typical mom and dad or whatever, are they how much awareness do they have of Switch 2?
Mm.
And they're seeing new Switch games, for Junior that they might want to pick up on the shelf. I think Nintendo's showing that the systems are going to coexist, much like the 3DS did in the early years of the Switch, and even going way back to the beginning, much like the NES did during the first few years of the SNES. So, yeah, they marched to the beat of their own drum, but I think
They
it
do.
was it's
Mm.
cool having. I think this is going to be the final Switch Direct because I think going on from here, they're going to combine them, which is what they did with 3DS and Wii U.
Yeah. So maybe it's just one last hurrah for the Switch to tide us over for the next few months until whatever that release date is. A lot of these games seem to be like summer, we've got April, May, June, July, I think, the bulk of them. And then there's some that are way later, like just says 2025 or holiday 2025 or even 2026 for I think one or two. So yeah,
Mm.
it's almost like this is going to tide us over for the next kind of 2-3 months, more or less, and then maybe the Switch 2 comes out sometime around, I don't know, July. Maybe it's June, July, August. Maybe as late as September, like you guys are saying. Who knows?
I
That
think
would,
we basically said every month that's left in
yeah,
the year, so
pretty
we're going to
much.
about to be right.
Not December. Maybe not December.
Each one of us will select 1 2-month period separated by 2 months all the way
Yes.
down the line until we hit January of next year.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
do have a quick counterpoint to Trevor's window for pre-orders. If we are waiting until your window of, like, say, October, November, September, October, I really doubt they're going to open up pre-orders right away, because the moment they open up pre-orders, they also start promoting that system. So the moms and dads will go into the stores and they're going to see signs for the Switch 2 with release dates on it. And I think that would dissuade them from buying the current system, except for the ones who were, like, the typical, this one was cheaper and it was available now, and the kid
Yeah.
really wanted the Switch 2 and was like, slow down, why'd you do this? We've got we've got something better on the
Yeah.
way.
The
Um,
the the only thing I can think that maybe would encourage the later date is the hype, like, just building that momentum even further. I think it's already hyped enough, though. I don't know. It's hard to tell. We're obviously, yeah,
Counterpoint to the counterpoint. To
yeah.
I think we've all had counterpoints actually, but maybe they would want more time to promote it. We remember the confusion with Wii U, and people thought it was a Wii accessory. Are people
Yeah.
going to think, oh, Switch 2, it's, it looks kind of similar? I mean, obviously, we know the differences because we've been following every scrap of news we can get. But your average consumer, does Nintendo want to learn from the Wii U mistake and really promote it? Because with the Switch, it was obvious how different it was.
Mm.
But now they're kind of looking similar to the casual eye. I don't know.
True. I think the number, they've rectified that with the number, haven't they? Everyone's used to, like, the PlayStation 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. Maybe. But yeah, it's a good point. I think a lot of, casual people might not know the difference. I mean, there is a giant 2 there, but who knows what people think in their heads, honestly. So they definitely don't want to repeat the Wii U mistake, though. That is absolutely true. So yeah, marketing
and
will be key.
The Wii U was such a largely different system from the Wii also, whereas the Switch 2 was just like an upgrade. So I don't know that they
Mm,
need as much promotion so much as a separation and a clear statement of this game cannot be played on this system. That's where I think they need to make that clear to people.
yeah, I think they must be worried though. I think we might have touched on this previously in a previous episode. Like, the Switch is such a success. How, and like even things like Mario Kart, right? Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, we know is how, like, Trev might know off the top of your head how many sales it's had, but it's number one seller for the Switch, right? It's done
It's
phenomenally well.
insane.
And it's a 10-year-old game, essentially, if you include the Wii U version. And
Was it
now
like
they've,
70 million or something?
yeah,
It's crazy.
yeah, it's crazy. And now they've got a whole new system to try to beat the Switch, and a new Mario Kart, at least we've seen in the preview. Um, they must be worried. Like, I'd be worried, but who knows? I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking. They've got to try to maximize the plan, and maybe this is the best way to do it. We've been talking about it for 2 months, so it hasn't even been officially revealed yet. I mean, it's been revealed, but we haven't got all the details, and we've been talking about it for 2 months. So, and even before that, we were talking about it months before that with all the rumors and leaks and everything. So,
They
yeah.
show a video that's only a few minutes long, and we've spent hours and
I know,
hours
I know.
dissecting it.
I know. So maybe by the time this direct happens, everyone's just like, when the pre-orders, whatever the date is, pre-orders open, people are just like, I have wanted this thing for 6 months now. I'm just going to pre-order it. I don't know. Like, just give it
I
to
will
me.
say I'm going to have Best Buy's website open right next to the direct window,
Yes.
just in case.
Yes. And just, do you want to give us a quick reminder? What time is it on in your time zone? No, you're Pacific. You're Eastern, right? Eastern time.
Eastern,
And it was
9
like
a.m.
9 a.m. Okay. So
Yeah,
that's in
it'll
the
be
US
6
Eastern
a.m.
time.
Pacific.
Pacific, okay. So most of our listeners are from the US, so you're looking between 6 and 9 a.m. there. For Australia, if you're listening in Australia, it's around 11 p.m. for Brisbane and midnight, I believe, for Sydney and Melbourne. And it'll be a couple of hours earlier for Perth, for example, I think around 9 p.m. So yeah, all over the shop there. So cannot wait to talk about it all next week in detail, because we'll have all the details. Anything else you want to add before we get into this direct, the last week's Nintendo Switch Direct, and go through some of the games that were highlighted?
Let's
Anything else
get
to add?
into it.
All out of counterpoints.
Okay. Counterpoint. Do you actually have a counterpoint, or are you just joking?
Oh no, I don't. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
done.
Okay. So yes, the Nintendo Switch Direct happened. It was Thursday. Yeah, all about the Switch, the current Nintendo Switch, and a whole lot of games. I didn't count, but gosh, there must be like 20 or 30 or so. Quite a few. We've highlighted a few to talk about. There are also some very interesting non-game related pieces, which we'll also get into. But let's start with some of the highlighted ones from our list, including Redo. I don't know if I can say that. Redo Remastered, Mystery of the Soulless Army. Who highlighted this one out of you two?
I
Take a
did.
guess.
Because it looked very much like a Kirk game with the demon fighting, didn't it?
Yeah, well, and that's it. I don't know anything about this game. I didn't know it existed
Mhm.
within the like. I don't even know what the base game within this series is. The whole like demon bargaining and collecting and fighting. The Shin Megami Tensei games. There have been the Devil Survivor Overclocked and Overclocked 2 were kind of the same thing, but they had different mechanics. Shin Megami Tensei, what was it? The Nocturne, the game for the 3DS. Kind of had the same thing, but it played out like a dungeon crawler. So this one is more like an action kind of game. So I was intrigued by it. It's an old game. It's a PS2 game, I believe they
Mm.
said, that has been remastered. So out of all the games that we have listed here, it's the one that piqued my interest the most. But I don't have anything to offer because I don't know any more about it than what they showed in the direct.
Mm. Yeah, so you hadn't heard of this before, even as a like an old PS2 title? You weren't aware of this?
No,
No,
no, I was
okay.
not, and that's on me. I mean, anybody who's dug into the franchise, I think, would probably know of these offshoot games.
Mm.
But I have enjoyed a couple of the other offshoots, like I said, like Devil Survivor. So I'm looking forward to it.
Nice. Well, that one comes out on June the 19th, so we'll look
Yeah,
forward to that one.
yeah, it's one of the earlier releases for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Next up is Story of Seasons Grand Bazaar, which comes out on August the 27th. And I thought they said it was from the DS, but did they mean the series started on the DS when they said that? This is not an old game, is it?
No, it is.
It is. Okay. So it's a remaster as well, in a sense.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think the series was Harvest Moon before that, and I
Oh,
think
that's right.
I
Mhm.
remember that on like the N64. Even I think the Super Nintendo might be where it had started.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, I highlighted this one. Not that it's a game that necessarily is of much interest to me, but my wife liked the trailer and she said, "Oh, I'd probably play that." And I said, "Well, in that case," I said, there's like what, at least half a dozen previous Story of Season games on the Switch
Yep.
already. I'm like, we could probably find one on sale, and you could check that out. In fact, I think didn't you even review like an offshoot, Gemma? It had those
Yes, Doraemon or whatever, that cat.
yeah,
Yeah. Mm.
yeah. And I reviewed one way back too on the 3DS that was like an offshoot. So it's popular, and my uh my friend Kira, she contributes for us on occasion. She's the one I was talking to her, and she's like, "Yeah, I have the game on DS. I'd be interested to see how they, updated it for the Switch." So I think it'll find an audience. I was looking at the Switch bestsellers. One of the more recent ones, Pioneers of Olive Town, or I didn't actually copy the name, but that was a million seller. So I'm sure this game will be successful if it wasn't already successful back on the DS.
Mm, they do well, these ones. And yeah, it was a Harvest Moon game originally, Harvest Moon Grand Bazaar, and that was from 2008 for the Nintendo DS. So that's interesting. This one comes
That's
out
going to
on
be a big upgrade from DS
Yeah,
to Switch.
yeah. I always like the look of these games, but I've said many times before that Sims are not my thing. But they do look fun, and they are fun, honestly. And I enjoy them to a degree, but I just don't have the time to dedicate to them.
They are a time sink.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, but it does look lovely from the trailer. And did I say that one comes out on August 27th, if I did not already say that? Sorry. But the next one, which came pretty early in the direct, I thought, but maybe because we already heard of it, we know it's coming out, is Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. Still doesn't have a release date. It just says coming 2025. And I guess I was surprised because I thought this would be a Nintendo Switch 2 feature. Maybe it will also feature in the direct next week, this week. But anyway, they showed off
I
a
have a feeling on
yeah,
that
sure.
that once we know when the Switch 2 comes out, we're going to know when Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is coming out.
Yeah.
I think there will be a Switch 2 version of that game that will be available on launch day.
Yeah, okay. That could make sense. Yeah, I could see that being a definite possibility. What did you, because you probably, Kirk, are you probably the biggest Metroid Prime fan among us? Trav,
Well, am I?
I don't know.
Trev, you weigh in on that. I mean, I
Uh,
like the games. I've played them.
I'm
I don't list them on my like my top franchises.
Okay, I know Justin loves them, but he's not
I'm
on
a
the show.
fan. Yeah, Justin's probably the biggest fan.
Yeah.
But like I had Prime Remastered. I think both
Mm,
Justin and I had that in our top 10 when it
that's
came out.
right. Yes,
So
yes.
I'm enough of a fan.
Yeah, okay. Well, what did you think about what they showed off? Because they showed some of the environments with the new planet, View Ross, and also a new ability, which to me looked like she was just using the force, honestly, her psychic ability. I'm just like, oh, so same same
What
as the
is it with
force.
Nintendo all of a sudden and glowing hands, glowing left hands for their characters?
Yeah, like Link. Yeah. What do you think about that?
I thought it looked great. It looked more open world to me, and maybe that's one of the reasons it's taken so long. Like
Mm,
the
mhm.
other Metroid games guided you down a path, and there was a lot of backtracking, but it was very linear. And this one looks like maybe she has the room to jump around to different areas instead of stick to a guided. I don't want to say path again, but I'm going to say path again. We'll see how many times I use the word path in one character.
At least one more.
Trevor would be editing like crazy on my review. You've used path. But yeah, so that's my thought. It just looks like there's going to be more freedom of movement.
Yeah, it definitely looks that way. Do you agree, Trev?
Yeah, it's interesting. First to the point you made, Jim, I was sort of surprised it was in the middle of the
Mm,
direct too. I thought it would have been a game they either started with or ended with.
mm.
Actually, just backtracking a little, coming off the Story of Seasons game, the character was kind of navigating with a leaf, and I'm like, man, that looks a lot like Wind Waker. What if they went into Wind Waker HD? I wasn't expecting that, but um, yeah,
That would have been cool.
I was trying to anticipate. So I was surprised to see Prime 4 where it was, and the psychic ability. I'm like, psychic. I'm like, what is Atlas involved in this development of this game or something? Like, I do think it's probably, like you said, more like a Force type thing because Metroid's, sci-fi. It's not really
Mm, mhm,
supernatural, paranormal, whatever.
mhm.
Um, and I like that it does appear more open with all the uh, trails or walkways, or and I don't want to say paths, but um,
Pathways.
yeah, I did find myself surprised watching it. I feel like it needs to come out soon because my enthusiasm is right on the verge of waning. This was
Mhm.
first announced Prime 4 during the beginning of the Switch's life.
Yeah.
And here we are 8 years later. And I'm sure the game will be great and I'm going to play it and be entertained and have fun with it, but it needs to come out. It cannot afford any delays. I don't even think it can afford fourth quarter 2025. I think it needs to come out the sooner the better.
Mm. Yes, it has been a very long time. I'm sure a lot of fans are feeling the same as you.
I'm getting antsy.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, sorry, Kirk, you go.
I was going to say, agreeing with Trevor, with me, and maybe this is because I'm a fan, but it's not one of my top franchises. It's now become a game where I'm not going to play it if I have something better to play. It's going to have to find a spot between other major releases.
Mm.
So will if they do that during the downtime on the Switch before the Switch 2 comes out, if they do release it early, perfect. But boy, if it comes out with the Switch 2, I can't imagine there's not going to be something else that's going to be taking up my time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Mhm. And so it'll just be the hardcore fans like Justin to play it. And anyone who still has the patience after waiting for 8 years, 8 long years. Yeah. That's a crazy, I mean, what happened with this one, was there a change in, developer or something? Was that what happened along the way?
I feel
Didn't they
like,
start over at one point?
yeah, like a
Yeah.
couple years in, I think it was maybe 2019. They announced like, yeah, we're reworking it, or I forget the exact announcement, but it was like, wow. And even that felt kind of long. 2 years
Mm.
later, and here we are at 6 more years to that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been a
You
long
know,
time. Long time.
maybe that open world theory stands then. Like they were developing it like a regular Metroid Prime 4 game and then saw how everybody was taken to Breath of the Wild. Thought, why can't we do this with Metroid and started over that way?
Oh,
Mm. Yeah. And maybe they were thinking Switch 2, but it is coming out on Switch 1, so whatever it has in terms of open worldness and graphical capabilities, it's gotta work on the Switch. So maybe that's the problem, making it for both, making it simple enough for the Switch, but, robust enough and, I don't know, graphically powerful enough to look amazing on the Switch 2 as well.
Yeah.
That's
could
almost
be.
like
I
doing
mean,
two in one almost. Mm.
Breath of the Wild got delayed and ended up coming out on both Wii U
Mm.
and Switch. So
Yeah, that's it. Interesting. So yeah, it will be interesting. I just said interesting. Now I'm very conscious of repeating words, but it will be interesting to see
Don't
if
go down that path.
it. Thank you, Kirk. But it will be interesting to see if it features, which we think it will, in the Switch 2 Direct this week. So maybe we'll be able to talk about it in more detail next week when we actually maybe have a release date as well. That'll be cool. Um, let's move on to the next one, which is Gradius Origins, which did catch my eye as well. Who highlighted this one?
I
Trev?
did.
Trev, I
Yeah.
thought maybe. Yeah.
Um, and it's interesting because, Gradius, however you say it, I've heard it both ways. I'm not actually a, a fan of that per se, but I'm a big fan of Life Force or Salamander. These crazy naming, variances by region.
Yeah.
So I wanted to give it a shout out. It is also, if you're looking to pick up a copy physical limited run, actually today or the day we're recording, just opened up pre-orders.
Cool.
So if you're looking for a physical copy with some goodies,
Mm.
but I will say a lot of the games in this collection you could play right now if you were inclined. Some of these games are in part of the arcade archive line. Some are on Switch online. There's even existing collections already on the Switch. So if you are curious about this, it's probably for the new game. It's not necessarily the old games because you probably already have access to them or
Mm.
already own them in various other ways.
Yeah, that's a good point. And it is a good collection. It does feature several versions, and even different versions of the same game, not just, Gradius 1 and 2, for example. I think they had different regions, like maybe the Japanese version of the game along with the US version, whatever. But they have packaged it with a new game, Salamander 3. So that is cool.
Yeah.
That's a nice way to do a package or a
And it
collection.
is cool to compare because there actually are some, pretty sizable differences in terms of like power up implementation and different things. I'm not going to get into all the nitty gritty. Not that I know
Mm.
it anyway, but
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
it is
Me
fun
neither.
to compare and see just how they play because there are differences that are more than surface deep.
Yeah, and I'm sure if you're a fan, you would have your favorite, version of the game, like Gradius 2 or whatever, would be your perfect, iteration of that series. And that one comes out on August the 7th, so that one is a little ways away, but we'll keep an eye on that one when it does come out. Next up is Tamagotchi Plaza, which comes out on June the 27th. Now, is this a Trev one also?
Take
They're
a
all Trev
guess.
ones from
They're
this
all Trev.
point forward.
Okay. Right.
You don't need to ask.
Okay.
Well, you can weigh in too, Kirk, if you
Oh
want.
yeah.
You
Well, you know
can.
You
what? I am
never
going to
had.
weigh in quickly on Gradius Origins because I'm
Okay.
looking at the screen captures and it looks like he's fighting King Ghidorah at one point.
I don't know who that is.
Is that from Godzilla?
Oh,
Is it?
guys.
Is it?
Ah.
We've broken
I
Kirk.
can hear Kirk's soul just like getting crushed.
I'm now I'm fading back into the hedges. Yeah, no, yeah, that is a Godzilla monster, and there's a screen capture here where it looks like almost verbatim like him. I can't imagine that they got a license or anything. Maybe
Mm.
three-headed gold dragons are just a thing in Japan, and you're not allowed to trademark it. But yeah, that was it. Just want to make a Godzilla reference. You guys can move on.
Nice, thank you. We love it. We love it. Now, Tamagotchi Plaza, there's 12 shops to help, and there's 100 different Tamagotchi to choose from. I don't remember where we're at with this series. Is there a series of games?
There's a lot of these
Yeah.
games.
Yeah.
I don't have much experience with. I gotta think when I say Tamagotchi because I kept saying Tamadochi or when I was saying this in my head. We'll get
Mm,
to that
mhm.
later, but
Yeah, yeah.
I remember like when I was a teen, they had those keychains, the virtual pets, and which
Yes.
like died in like less than 2 weeks. And
Yeah, yeah.
but there are a lot of games, and actually some of these games are pretty popular. I was looking on the DS, a list of DS bestsellers. There's two of these games that are million plus sellers.
Wow.
So there's definitely an audience. I only have one on the Wii, which, if memory serves, is sort of like a Mario Party type game, but it's been a long while. Um, but yeah, I mainly highlighted this because I think there's a potential audience
Mhm.
for Switch, even late in the Switch life, and it's a cute looking game, right? Which is sort of for all the games that were highlighted with demons and kind of
Yeah.
darkness and whatnot. There's that contrast with these kind of cute, fluffy games.
Yeah, definitely. Yes. And I agree. I definitely got it confused with the one that's further down the list. I'm like, wait, is it the same? No, it's not the same. It's very similar in terms of the naming. Sorry, very, very similar naming convention. And it's because it's a Japanese word, I assume. It's just my Japanese is rusty. I'm not very good at Japanese. Anyway, thank you, Trev. Now, the next one is, I guess, a big one, and I've highlighted this one because it is a big one. We know about it already. It's Pokemon Legends ZA, and we've seen a bit recently because they showed it off. Was it during Pokemon Presents in
Mm,
February? We saw a bit of footage there, a lot more detail actually than we'd had previously. So they've showed off a bit more. It looks. I mean, I'm definitely interested in your opinion, Trev, because you played Legends Arceus and enjoyed that one. I'm interested in this one because I was quite into Pokemon Scarlet Violet. I know it's not a Legends game, but you know, you're battling Pokemon. It's sort of the same, right? I
mm,
did like that they had explained why it's called ZA. Now we know it's you start off at rank Z and you have to do battles, I guess, and work your way up to rank A. So that for me was a bit of an aha moment. I'm like, oh, that's why it's called ZA. I thought it was going to be something a bit more sinister or like meaningful, but that's cool. I don't know. What do you think about that?
the more you do, like the commercial. Oh, they probably didn't have those in Australia.
I don't, don't know. What's it for?
Oh, I feel like those were like the 90s, like they were like little educational kind of commercials, and it would always end like the more you know, like a little jingle. You
Oh,
must remember those, Kirk, right?
Oh yeah, they had like the little rainbow with the star at the
Yeah.
end, and yeah, yeah.
You'll
most of
have
our
to
ads.
find a clip on YouTube and put it in the
I'll try.
video.
Is there a something I can search for? Or do I just search for the more you know ad?
Yeah, that's it. They were pretty,
Okay.
at least around here, they were pretty popular. I think they spun off even earlier ones, but I'm getting off
Mm.
topic.
How does it relate to Pokemon Legends?
Oh, just learning about the naming with
Ah, yes, yes.
the
The more you know.
ZA.
Okay.
You know,
Hmm.
it's not the end of like pizza or whatever
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
were thinking. I
Yeah.
do think some were surprised that it showed up in a Nintendo Direct because it was recently, just a few weeks back, shown in the Pokemon
Mm.
Presents. But
Yeah.
we saw things. I picked up on things I didn't notice. I think it was fun, kind of just getting the view from the rooftops
Mm.
and
Hmm.
getting a unique perspective on the world. And I guess I don't know if you'd call it nostalgia, but like X and Y, they were technically my first Pokemon games I owned because I think Nintendo had a promotion on the 3DS where you could get like a free digital code or whatever. It wasn't the first Pokemon game I beat, but it was the first one I owned. So it is sort of nostalgic being able to see that world now and on the big screen.
Mm.
And obviously, just building off its predecessor, which was my runner-up for Game of the Year the year it came out, Yeah, I'm excited for this. It's funny. I talked about how Metroid 4 is on the cusp of losing my enthusiasm.
Mhm.
But conversely, I think Pokemon Legends is on the cusp of getting even more enthusiasm, especially if my wife is going to be into this one like she was with Arceus.
Yeah, that's a good point. And this one, speaking of Metro Prime 4, which we know is coming in 2025, and we discussed the, potential release dates earlier in the show. This one has a release date of late 2025. So
Mm,
they have put it into a bit of a time frame. I'm guessing that's kind of quarter 4 when they say late. Do we think
yeah,
this is also a Switch 2 crossover title? Because that was the thought last year when they kind of teased it. We thought, oh, this will be a Switch 2 title, right? But
I've
now
got
I'm not sure.
some thoughts on that.
Mhm.
Maybe I just hold them for a little bit later in this episode.
Okay, okay, that's fine.
I think Arceus was a late release too. At least I remember my playlist. I actually had the most playtime for that game of January the
Mm,
following year. So
mhm, yeah.
yeah, I'm okay if this is a game to get me through, the holiday season into the new year.
Yeah, I would be okay with that too. I am looking forward to this one. I would yeah, I'm very lucky to get it, I would say, unless there's a million other games that compete. But I would very much like to get this one and play it. I love the idea of working my way up to rank A. That's a really clear goal for me to try to do. And it's kind of like a challenge. It's like, oh, you're saying I can't get to rank A? I can get to rank A. So, yeah, I can see myself enjoying that. I do like the night and day mechanic that they've got going on, where the city changes by night, and that's where all the what do you call them? People and Pokemon come out and and battle you. The wild area is interesting. I feel sorry for the Pokemon though because they're supposed to be in these wild areas. They're free to roam in the wild areas, but no, that's where you go to catch them. So they're not really free, are they?
It's like a zoo where you can go in and poke the lions or
Yeah, yeah.
something. I mean,
Interesting.
Pokemon really is messed up when you think about it. I mean, you really can't analyze it too closely
Yeah, I
because
know. I know. Yeah, like you have your one little buddy, and that's cool. But then the rest are just trapped in a ball. Anyway, let's not go there. Okay, so let's move on to Rhythm Heaven Groove. Now, this was a 2026 one. That's what they said in the direct. This is coming out next year, but it's
yeah.
it's it's a thing. Rhythm Heaven Groove. What are your thoughts on that one, Trev?
Well, I am bummed that it's 2026, but I also get it because I feel like Nintendo is doing that to just kind of put people any confusion that the Switch 2 is going to be the death knell of the original Switch. No, it's
Mm,
going to coexist. We're going to keep supporting it, and it's a nice surprise because I like the Rhythm Heaven games. I don't think the trailer was necessarily the best to show it off. Um, but they're fun games, On the Wii, I loved. I can't remember the name of it, but I love that one. And Mega Mix on the 3DS. Those were both kind of released late in the system's life, but they were favorites of mine. And I say that as somebody who's generally not very good at rhythm games. I think back to like Parappa the Rapper on the PlayStation. I was terrible at that, or Space Channel 5 on the Dreamcast. I was awful at that. But these games, for whatever reason, I can I can get into.
mm.
And I'm actually well, I shouldn't say I'm surprised because the trailer wasn't the best, but I bet Kirk would like this just because it's got a lot of that WarioWare kind of
It
aesthetic.
does. Yeah. Did
So there's a
you?
lot of charm there.
Yeah, it certainly looks like. I mean, that was my immediate thought. Like, this looks like Wario. What did you think, Kirk?
The beginning where they were showing like the dynamic of it and how to control, I thought this just looks like the weirdest thing I've ever seen. But then once I saw that that was just one little snippet, and now we have a bunch of different style graphics and images throughout the whole thing, then I had the same thought. It's like, oh yeah, like WarioWare, where some things are incredibly rudimentary, and the next one is going to be rather ornate. You never know. So yeah, I was, and I like rhythm games, so I'm
Yeah.
intrigued. Yeah.
Yes. Crazy Rhythm Castle? Was that the one you reviewed a
Yes.
couple years ago?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
one from Konami. Yeah.
Yeah. That will always stick in my mind. That was cool. Yes. So 2026, no more details on that one. But yeah, the trailer is there and it does look quirky, let's say, but in a fun way. I think it looks neat. Now then, the direct went in a very different direction because instead of talking about games, and I don't know if you want to hold this till the end or not, but this is the order that it was presented to us in. They suddenly talked about virtual game cards randomly, which was a bit of a surprise. So what this means is you can load your when you download a game from the eShop, it becomes a now. Do we know if every game does this? Is that what the premise is? Every game becomes a game card, and then you can load it onto a second system if you want to. I assume that means it's taken off the first system at that point. Plus, you can also lend a game, like temporarily for 14 days. You can lend it to a family member. I guess they have to be part of your Switch online collective. Does that sound right to you guys?
I can see
Yeah,
with
that
games moving forward. I don't know how they're going to implement it with like older games, but
Mm. I mean, Mario Wonder was their example game. So does that
yeah, that's
mean?
true. That's a good point.
But is it
yeah,
like you've already got the game, you can convert it to a virtual card, or you have to buy it? Anyway, sorry, Kirk, what was your thought?
well, yeah, the one thing I wasn't sure about was like during a software update, is this just now the way all digital downloads, digital games are going to behave? It's a whole new operating system that handles it this way. That was my thought. I could be wrong. Did they say you have to convert the game into a virtual game card?
There was a process there, but was that the connection with the system that took a few
Yeah.
seconds the first time? But I don't know why it's only the first time. And then after that, you can. It looked really quick, and I'm like, what if you're transferring Tears of the Kingdom? That's a big game.
Yeah.
That's going to take a while, right?
Yeah, maybe you just have like you don't bother with it until you do want to lend a game out, and then you create a virtual game card of your digital to download so that it can be passed out, and then it's that way going forward.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
but I think this is fantastic. I'm on the family version of Switch Online. I've got two other, well, I guess one right now. I will have two other kids with Switches, and my my immediate thought with this was I am much less likely now to trade in the current Switch. I wasn't going to anyway. It'll probably go to Sam when I get the Switch 2, because now all these games that I wasn't able to share before, like because I bought them digitally, I now can. So I could pass that
Mm,
off to any of my kids at any point, and they could play this without having to buy it again. I think the 14 days is more of a we just don't want people to lose track of their games when they pass them out. You automatically get it back in 14 days because I imagine you'll just be able to turn around and lend it out to the same person again.
yeah, I
Because
assume
you're
so.
not going to finish Breath of the Wild in 14 days.
No, definitely not.
But yeah, I love it. This honestly, this was my favorite announcement of the whole direct.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, I think it's a step in the right direction. And for someone like me who only has one Switch, it makes me probably not a Switch because we're at the end of the life cycle of the Switch. But if this is a Switch 2 thing as well, and I don't know, can you go between Switch 1 and Switch 2? It would make me more likely to get another Switch in the future if that was a thing, right? Like if we were not about to get a Switch 2, just for the sake of argument, I've talked about getting a Switch Lite or a Switch OLED. Haven't done that.
You talked about
I,
that for a while.
I have, yes, many years now. Too long, and I should have. But anyway, now it's more likely to do that because for the same reason that Kirk said, I can share games because most of my games are digital. Like they're mostly downloaded, whether I'm reviewing them or whether they're just because it's convenient. Even Tears of the Kingdom was a download game for me. Um, I can share them with my kids if they have their own Switch. That's like, oh, maybe I should get them their own
Yeah.
Switch. Yeah,
And you don't have to give them the Switch that you normally play with so they can play the game because
exactly.
yeah,
Mhm.
it's yeah.
'Cause that is
I think they
sometimes an
did
issue.
say
Mm.
to answer your question earlier, I think they did say that Switch games you can pass Switch games to the Switch 2.
Okay, cool.
But obviously it won't go the other direction.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, if they're especially made for Switch 2, yeah, they
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to go backwards, unfortunately. No Mario Kart 9 for the Switch, the humble Switch. Yeah.
But there
Um,
is an interesting point that
mhm.
and I'm looking at IGN. I don't know if others picked up on this. They probably did, but apparently there was some fine print when they were showing that, and they mentioned about how virtual game cards for Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive games and Nintendo Switch 2 edition games. So, does that mean Metroid Prime 4 or Pokemon Legends are going to have Switch 2 versions that can be played in
Mm.
higher res or better frame rate or whatever the case may be? It's sort of interesting wording.
Yeah, that is interesting wording. So it's not like, say, Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, which we think maybe can upscale on the Switch 2, but it's a
Mm.
Switch game. This might be like there's two separate versions of Metroid Prime 4. One specifically made. Is that how they did it with Breath of the Wild? They would have, right? Because Wii U was a disc based
But
system.
the thing is, too, I mean, thinking about it, if the Switch 2 is going to be backwards compatible, like
Mm,
who, I could see like when the Switch first came out, they had Switch and 3DS versions of certain games, like Captain Toad, and that made sense because it was a different medium. But
yeah.
like, I just wonder. It'd be interesting to see the sales breakdowns, like particularly if a game comes out simultaneously as a Switch One and a Switch Two enhanced.
Mm.
How is the market will dictate, I guess, how long the Switch stays relevant. And I think this might also have. I hate to say it, but what's it going to do for people who buy physical? Like I have a ton of digital games, but I still seek out physical games.
Mm.
How's that going to work if I want to? Can I transfer that? Can I do some kind of? Because even on Switch, like if you peruse the eShop, it might tell me it usually will say if you already own a game, but it'll only do that digitally. It'll still prompt me to buy like a digital copy of say Mario Kart 8 because I have a physical card. So
Mm.
I don't know. I worry about that to some extent, but I guess that's a fears for a different day.
Yeah. They're all very good points. It does make me think though, yeah, if you surely they wouldn't just have a Metroid Prime 4 Switch edition and a Metroid Prime 4 Switch 2 edition right next to each other on a shelf. And it's like $20 difference, as in the Switch 2 one's $20 more expensive. Why would
The
you
closest thing I can think of is like when the new 3DS came out, they had certain games that ran better on new 3DS than it did on regular 3DS. Like Hyrule Warriors was much smoother on new 3DS, but you could still play it on standard 3DS. So
Mm,
why wouldn't
That
they just
wasn't
have that?
not all games allowed you to do that though. Some games you had to have the new 3DS, right?
That is true. Yeah, that is
yes,
true.
that is
And
true.
like
Yeah.
let's say and maybe this emphasizes my point that Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is going to be released the same day as the Switch 2. If you are getting the Switch 2, I would be happy to pay a little extra to get the version that's optimized for the Switch 2 if they have two versions out there. If they want to make the game playable for both systems, but they have a better version of it that's available for the better system, then that's the one that I'm going to want to play. I would not buy a second copy. Like, let's say I get Metroid Prime 4 and it comes out 2 months before the Switch 2 and I can't wait. I would buy that, and then when the Switch 2 comes along, I'm playing it on that system, but I wouldn't upgrade the game.
True.
So I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I think most people would probably be the same unless you're a mega fan who needed to have every version or something. Yeah, it's
And
very
I wonder
interesting.
if Nintendo would like say that was the case. They released Metroid Prime 4 on Switch, like just a standard case, nothing extra. And then you get the Switch 2 version, and oh, it comes with an amiibo and a reversible cover and a booklet and a little pin and a download for the soundtrack. And like, would they try to add extra value to make sure you're leaving the old hardware behind? I don't
True.
know.
That would be more tempting, especially if there's a well, all of those things really. Amiibo, yes. A booklet. I miss my booklets. Like, where are
Uh,
they at? Yeah, that would definitely tempt me for sure. Would that be enough for you, Kirk, to repurchase? Maybe not Metroid, but like
No,
Fire
have I
Emblem.
ever? I'm trying to. Well, Fire Emblem, I get the defend. If there's an
Yeah.
edition that has books and posters and maps, whatever those map napkins are. I have a few map napkins.
Mapkins.
Yeah,
Yes.
napkins. Thank you.
So
Um,
good.
yeah, I don't know that I've ever gone back. You know what? There was one I will consider doing it, and I'm going to bring it up again. Was Unicorn Overlord? I didn't know I was going to love that game as much as I do.
Mm.
I got the standard edition, and then I started looking at like after I realized, man, this is an all time great. I considered spending the money to get the definitive edition or whatever it was called off eBay, but it was too expensive from the start, so I didn't
Oh,
wrestle with it for too
why
long.
why eBay? Was it not no longer in stores? Was it sold
Yeah,
out?
no, yeah, yeah, it
Oh.
was gone pretty quickly.
Oh, wow. Well, there you go. Yeah, okay. That's a really good point too. Mm. Well, let's move on if we're done with our virtual game cards, which comes out, if I think I might have said this already, but it comes out late April. So after the Direct, the Switch 2 Direct. And I assume this will be yeah, like we've said, it will cross over between Switch 2 and Switch 1. So it'll be just be the default when Switch 2 comes out. So I can probably say Switch 2 won't come out in April. Right? Anyway.
And
Probably
you
not. Does this create an ethical problem for reviewers? Because now all those games that we get for review, I can share with my family digitally.
Mm,
uh,
yeah,
you
I
can
don't
get
know.
second opinions, third opinions.
Yeah,
Yeah, true.
I usually do that anyway because someone will watch me play, or Sam will have to help me pass things I can't get past sometimes. So all their opinions go into the review in that sense.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. Well, let's move on to we've got, I guess, three more games to talk about. Now, Fantasy Life I was the next one. We don't have to linger on this one. I just highlighted it because it was such a brief mention of this game, which is apparently quite a big game, but maybe it's because we saw something relatively recently from, I guess it was from Level 5 themselves, right? With the big trailer. We talked about it a few weeks ago. This one comes out on May the 21st. It was just a very, very light touch. um, I guess, are you excited still by this one, Trev? Because I think you and I were the Fantasy Life fans among us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like I still want to. I may wait for some reviews because I know they say it's like a new sequel, but like there's still like looking at it, I'm like, is it 100% new? Does it? Is there some carryover from the 3DS? I don't know.
Mm,
Something tripped me up, and I can't actually remember what it was when I first saw it.
yeah. Yeah.
Um,
And it's
but I
been,
like Fantasy Life. I mean, I
yeah.
never 100%ed it because there's so many careers, and
Hmm.
I think there was DLC too, right? Like, which I never got because I think you had to. It was weird. I think it was only available after you like completed like the game or
Ah,
something. Like, and I'm like,
yeah. Okay.
I don't want to bother with that.
Yeah, that's an odd choice. Hmm.
But it's a cute game. I picked it up later in the 3DS Life, but um,
Yeah.
I'm keeping an eye on it.
Yes. So in terms of your spectrum of Metro Prime for wave, waning Pokemon Legends, heightening excitement, where do you sit with Fantasy Life I? Is it kind of in the middle?
I guess so. It's plateaued
Plateaued,
from
yeah.
my initial interest. I guess. Yeah, I want to. I want to learn more. So I think I'm going to wait
Mm,
and see some reviews and watch some footage. And
yeah.
um,
Well, because
it's gonna be fun though. I'm
yeah.
sure of it. And Fantasy Life was popular on 3DS, and I know a lot of people liked it, and I could see why because I liked it too. It was fun. I feel like it's one of the more. I really don't like the expression cozy games because that means that can mean anything to anyone. It's
Hmm.
but for that type of game, if you want to use that word, I think it's one of the better ones for sure.
Yeah. I remember Kit and Krista actually when they were doing Nintendo Minute playing that original Fantasy Life game. That was one of the reasons why I got it was because I saw them playing it and it looked like so much fun. I'm like,
Nice.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think I need to play that game. Yeah. So we'll see. I'm a bit the same. I think it's also been it's not quite Metroid Prime 4 length of time, but because it's been delayed so long, it's a bit like I really was excited when this was first announced, and now it's a couple of years later, and I'm like, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. And I thought this might be a Switch 2 title as well, but maybe not at this point since it was it was listed
Yeah.
in this collection of games.
Unless the Switch 2 comes out, what, May 21st? Or
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. We'll see. The next is Everybody's Golf Hot Shots, which looks like a new entry in the Everybody's Golf series. And this one just has a 2025 release date. It's very, what, I guess, anime-esque with its visuals. Yeah.
yes. In fact, when I was watching the footage, my wife, she's like, "Man, all these girls have really short skirts, don't they?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Well, it's the anime
Yeah.
kind of
I was
look.
thinking that too. I'm like, I don't know if I'd play golf in that skirt. It's too
They're
short.
showing a lot of skin."
Yeah. But that's okay. Yeah. Have you played any others in the series?
Believe it or not, I have not, even though I have a lot of golf games on
Mhm.
like a PS1, but I guess they're even more simulation. This one looks like it's sort of a hybrid between arcade and sim, and at
Mm.
least that's the sense I got. Which is fine because I think the main reason I highlighted it is I like golf games, and the Switch doesn't have enough of them.
Mhm.
It has golf themed games like Golf Story, but that's an RPG,
Mm.
or What the Golf. That's more of a quirky little. I don't even know how to describe that, but I'd like a game that's kind of a hybrid, but maybe a little more to the sim element. Because
Yeah.
even Mario Golf, Super Rush, has a lot of arcadey elements. So
Mhm.
You like cozy golf games.
Yes.
yeah, I do with anime chicks showing some
Yeah.
flesh.
Well, I think Everybody's Golf Hot Shots has you covered there. So, yeah, we'll, see when that one actually does come out. But yeah, just
There was no
2025.
date. I thought they said summer, or
Did
maybe
they?
I'm
I'm
wrong.
I maybe wrote it down incorrectly, but I
Well, I guess
think
that's not a
right.
date anyway. Summer, that could be a 3-month
Yeah.
window. But
Yeah, true, exactly. Yes.
mm.
Um, anything to add to that, Kirk? Are you a golf sim fan? Cozy or other?
Boy, I used to be on old systems, but I haven't picked one up in quite some time, so I'm going to say not anymore.
Fair enough. What was the golf game that Bart was given,
Lee
Trev?
Carvalho's Pudding Challenge.
Yeah, that's right. Love that. Yeah, that's a good episode too. The final game on the list was the final game in the direct, actually, which is Tamagotchi Life, Living the Dream. And this is the confusing name. So this is, or am I saying it wrong? Tomodachi? How would you say it,
It's
Kirk?
not
Probably,
it's not
probably
Tamagotchi, it's
No,
Tomodachi.
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 Tomodachi. So this is the first new entry in the series in over 10 years. And I feel like, did you predict this, Trev? Is this one of your predictions?
I feel like I predicted it 2 years ago, so I
Uh,
was just off.
yeah.
I think I predicted because it would have been the 10-year anniversary. I think now this is what, like 11 years, so
Yeah. Mhm.
or
Close.
maybe 12. Yeah, I just missed the boat, but I'm excited for this because I actually didn't play the 3DS game. I feel like I missed that hype. A lot of my friends were playing it, but for whatever reason, I didn't pick it up. And yeah, when I saw that creepy giant me, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh. And I'm not nuts about the moniker or the subtitle "Living the Dream." I feel like that's kind of a trivial thing like you hear nowadays. But I'm just really, you know what I'm excited about, Gemma and Kirk,
What's that?
is the fact that this shows me Mii's are going to continue. Because we think
Yes.
of Mii's,
Mm.
we think of more like from the Wii through like 3DS. The Switch hasn't really had a lot of them. We can still have them as our icon, and there was like Miitopia, but I feel like me sort of died off or are dying off, and this gives me hope that they're going to come back and be more of a maybe a focus for Switch too. Even though this is a Switch One game, it's going to come out in 2026. So
Mm. Yes. Yeah, it's another 2026 one, the second in the direct, I believe. Yeah, along with Rhythm Heaven Groove. So it's, yeah, I was the same. I saw it. I'm like, oh, they look like Mii's. The Mii's are back, which is cool. So yeah, we get to keep our Mii's, which is nice. So it'll be interesting to see how they integrate Mii's into the Switch 2, whether they become another feature or not. But yeah, it's nice that they're being revitalized in this way. We'll see. 2026 is a very long way away. So at this point. We're only in March still.
Mm,
Yeah, but it's another example of, I guess, Nintendo trying to relay fears that the Switch will be kicked away. As soon as the Switch 2 is out or officially properly announced, they have a lot of love still left. I mean, I was surprised. I guess this is a big enough game for the last game of the direct, but I was expecting something with Mario or Zelda, but that's probably going to be held over till the Switch 2 direct. So
I think so.
yeah.
And I bet you Tamagotchi Life is going to be a million seller on the Switch. It was really popular on 3DS.
Yeah.
It sold a lot of copies, and obviously the Switch has double that install base at
Yeah.
150 plus million. So it's going to move even in 2026. I'm sure of it.
Especially in Japan. And I mean, the game itself, because it should be compatible with the Switch 2, right? That's the good thing. This game could do
Mm,
well regardless of Switch hardware sales. Switch 2, you can have a Switch 2 and you can still get a Switch 1 game, presumably, right? They're
yeah.
meant to be backwards compatible. So, yeah, it shouldn't affect the software sales, but it means that people who still have their Switch and can't afford a Switch 2 or just don't want to get one yet can still, enjoy new content as well, which is nice. But I mean, they said this was the last game, and then they said, we've got one more announcement. I'm like, oh, okay. And then Miyamoto strolls on to announce a new app, which just came out of nowhere. It's called the Nintendo Today app. And if you're like me, a super fan, you would have downloaded it straight away, which I did. I'm going to guess you chose the Pikmin theme, Kirk.
I'm going to guess he didn't
Yes.
download it.
Well,
Oh
yeah.
no, no, I did. I did
Oh,
download it.
Wow.
I stand
Yeah,
corrected.
surprise, right? And you got it right. I did choose the Pikmin theme. I was disappointed there was no Fire Emblem theme.
Yeah. What's with
But
that?
once you get inside of it, you could select Fire Emblem as one of the games that you want
Yes,
notifications
you
about,
can.
or maybe like the calendar. No, yeah, it was the calendar's Pikmin.
Yeah.
Yeah, that and Xenoblade Chronicles was in there too.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
It made me happy.
Yeah, that's nice.
In fact, I got a notification today. Just and there's a point to this.
Okay.
Um, since I selected Fire Emblem, they gave me when I just logged in a bit ago a notification that I can now summon. I think it's one of the Lin characters from Engage in Fire Emblem Heroes.
Oh,
So,
nice.
I mean, I knew that because I'd already launched Fire Emblem Heroes. But yeah, so it's good to see them integrating with even the mobile app.
Yes, that is cool. So, yeah, it was an interesting pitch from Miyamoto-san. He sort of said we're still going to do our direct. We've been doing them for how many years did he say, Trev? Do you remember? A long
Since
time.
2011.
Yeah, a long time. And now they've got this Nintendo Today app, which is giving them direct access to fans via a simple app, and you don't. It's obviously free. You just need a Nintendo account, which is not the Switch Online account, not the paid account, just a Nintendo account, which we all have, obviously. But yeah, so did you also download it straight away, Trove? Which theme did you choose?
I did, and like Kirk, I downloaded the Pikmin theme.
Oh wow! Well, guess which theme I used.
Mario.
Pikmin.
No, Pikmin. I did
Oh,
start with Mario, and then Hayden was with me, and he said you should choose Pikmin. And I said yes, I should. So I changed to Pikmin.
wow.
He's just
We're
been
all in
wonderful
agreement.
lately, Hayden.
Yes, yes, definitely. Yes, so the theme is very cute, of course, and I mean, we've already seen some news pop up. This has been out as of recording, what, a day or maybe a bit more than 24 hours. I don't know, but there was some big news already announced via the app. Which, Kirk, since you're the one who found it, would you like to share that with us?
Yeah, the release date. They've announced the release date for the Zelda movie, the live action movie. And I don't have it in front of me, but I think I remembered it being March 26th of 2027. Does that sound right?
Yes, that's
Okay.
what's in my memory also. So, yes. Because I was thinking, oh, it's almost to the day. Like we're recording the
Yeah.
28th. Um, Pity they couldn't announce it on the 26th. That would have been a little bit cooler, but still. So we're 2 years away, essentially, from a Zelda movie, live action movie, which is really nice to know that we have that release date in place. 2 years, it's a long time, but for a movie, that's not so bad, I don't think. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
Yeah.
I didn't expect it much sooner than that. No.
No. Well, the previous window, wasn't it something like before 2029 or something ridiculous? Didn't they say
Yeah.
something? So they gave us a big window. Of course, it could be delayed, but I think an official release date is pretty for a movie is pretty sort of standard and robust in terms of it doesn't change that often. Movies sometimes get delayed, but not as much as games like Metro Prime 4. So we can kind of bank on that being a fairly accurate date. Trev, anything to say about the app, the Nintendo Today app? What were your thoughts on this? Did you appreciate this? Do you think it's necessary? What do you think?
I do like it. I think now that Nintendo has this, I think they might as well ditch Twitter, hop on Blue Sky, and
Amen.
Yes.
between that and that, we'll be covered, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, the little random like videos and different shorts. It sort of reminds me of like the early days of the 3DS, where you get those little like I remember
The
for
3D movies.
well, things like that, or even little shorts like to promote like Zelda. I remember for Wind Waker and A Link Between Worlds, they had little shorts, and yeah, I think it's cool. I think it's something I'll probably check in on every day. And the big thing, and this is personal to me, the fact that Kirk downloaded this now tells me there's really no reason he can't download Nintendo Music.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. I think that's a really good point. Kirk, rebuttal? Counterpoint?
Yeah, I I go to other places when I want to listen to music, not to the gaming world. Is that acceptable?
Hmm. Maybe we should run a poll. Listeners
Yeah.
can weigh in. Should Kirk download the
Oh,
music app?
no, that is a good
Uh,
idea. Will you?
uh,
Will you?
the Darkness just released their new album. I got that on day one, so
Oh,
well,
they're still around. That's cool.
yeah, hard to believe, right? And it's
Yeah.
good.
Nice. Okay. That's pretty cool. I might check it out. I don't know them super well, but I definitely know them. Yeah.
And
You
it's
know,
funny too because I don't want to stick on this because it's not what we're talking about. But when I'm playing video games, I want the music to be like specifically for the video game and to be like symphonic and add to it. And I love it in that environment. I
Mm.
hate it when they bring in like I won't say the darkness, but like rock style songs that are supposed to sound like something else, and that bothers me. I want that separation, and that's the main reason why I haven't downloaded the Nintendo app yet, is because the music app, I want that music in the game and I want to experience it there, and I don't enjoy it as much outside of the game.
Right. Okay. Good to have that clarification.
Okay.
I think I think
Just
Trev.
didn't want you to think I was being a jerk.
No. I think
you know
Trev
they
and
have
I
Koopa tunes. Koopas are kind of like Godzilla, right? So
kind of.
I'm just
Yeah.
teasing.
Yeah.
It's interesting though you mentioned Twitter and Blue Sky because I have thought Nintendo would be well placed to do their own social thing, integrated with their system or something. I don't know. Over the last few years, this could be their version of that. In a sense, it's a feed. They control the feed. There's no advertising. It's free. It's all
Yep.
Nintendo all the time. You can choose what you're interested in, Fire Emblem or whatever. Yeah, it's kind of like their own little social media feed. Obviously, we can't engage with it. We can't interact with it, but it's one way, right? Like it's not.
Yeah,
It's
that's part of the appeal.
yeah,
When they make
yeah,
an announcement, I don't have to read other people's responses to it that make me sad or mad or
yeah, yeah. Well, that's the
I just get
problem.
the announcement
Mm.
and I'm done.
Yeah,
That's
that's
all I
what's
need.
happened to Twitter. Twitter's become a bit of a cesspool for that sort of hate, hasn't it? But
Yeah.
yeah, this is just a nice, clean interface, easy to browse and customize, and yeah, very neat. So interesting. I love that they're doing these kinds of things like Nintendo Music, like Nintendo Today, things like Alamo, just different things. This is one of the reasons why I love Nintendo is that they keep doing things that kind of I don't know surprise me. I suppose so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these do a really good job of keeping Nintendo on your mind when you're not playing a game, but without feeling invasive.
Mm.
Like like I said, I've been using the alarm clock. I'll give that to Alarmo. I'll give that back to Sam when he returns from college. But yeah, so I'm thinking about Nintendo in the morning, but I don't feel like they're attacking me with ads or anything invasive like that. It's just there.
Yeah.
Like the announcements on the app, they're there, but and I can control whether they're shoved at me. We can shut off the notifications and such, but it just feels less invasive and more friendly the way they're keeping their name out there.
Yes, I agree. Trev, thoughts?
No, that was well said.
Yeah. Yep. Agree to agree. There we go. No counterpoints this time. So.
I'm on the same path.
Yes, thank you. Well, listeners, let us know if you have downloaded the Nintendo Today app and what you think of it, or any of the games from this Direct. Now, we easily filled our hour with all of this talk about the Direct. So,
And we didn't even cover half the games.
No, I know, exactly.
Never mind games we're playing.
Yeah. So if we covered every game, can you imagine? We'd fill a whole day. So anything else to add then before we do close off for the week?
I want to say that a couple games that I didn't go into and I won't here, but I'm curious to learn more about them are No Sleep for Kaname Date. Dive into. Oh wait, no, that's was it? I can't remember what the name of the AI Insomnium Files.
Ah, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Looking forward to that. Although I haven't played any other games in the series, the other games are on a crazy sale right now. Though I think you can get the first game in the series for like $4.
Wow. Okay.
So if you like me, you saw that and thought, well, I want to check this game out. You can dig into the other games before it comes out in July. You get both games for $13. I think that's what I covered it at the site today.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's good.
And I'm oddly intrigued by that Pac-Man game, Shadow Labyrinth.
That's right. I'm surprised we didn't highlight that one because we talked about that. Was it
I thought about it
last year?
I don't have anything to say about it other than I'm oddly intrigued.
Yeah, I agree. I am oddly intrigued. I saw it and I was watching it with Hayden again, and I'm like, he's like, is that Pac-Man? I'm like, oh, is this the one that we saw a preview of a while ago? And it's like, is that meant to be Pac-Man? And then they literally said it's a twist on Pac-Man. So yeah, it is. Well, it's from Bandai Namco, whatever they're called, right?
Yeah.
So that could be very interesting. I do like that one too. July 18th for that one. Thank you for letting us know about that sale. I might even check that out myself, to be honest. We've been playing so many, I don't know if this fits into that genre, but visual novels and point and click sort of style lately among us. This kind of looks a little of that style, maybe a bit more puzzle based, but still looks quite interesting. Trev, anything from you before we do close off?
No, I'm just, hey, next podcast, Switch 2.
Yeah. Yes.
Hoping we'll have Justin with us too.
Yeah, we'll have a full panel to discuss all of the outcomes of the Switch 2 Direct that we've been waiting for forever, it seems. Now only 2 days away. If you're listening, enjoy the Direct. Tune in next week to hear our thoughts about everything. We'll break it all down. Thank you both for joining me this week. It's been a pleasure, as always, talking about all things Nintendo. If you would like to support us, you can head on over to patreon.com/PureNintendo, and we'll get to work on our next issue of the Pure Nintendo magazine, which we will send to your address when it comes out as part of our support package. If you would like to follow us, Trev mentioned Blue Sky. We are on Blue Sky, so head on over to there to see what we're up to. And, of course, check out our website for our brilliant reviews and news. And until next week, thank you, and game on, everybody. Bye.
Keep your path straight.